Good morning, YouTube. This is Shawn Sandridge coming back with another Jumpstart January video. So I was going to talk about children today, but the conversation of love and marriage was still on my mind last night after I made the video. And then I woke up this morning and I saw Lady Nika. Hi, Lady Nika. Made some comments on my video, and thank you so much. I really want to tell you thank you through YouTube. Thank you so much. You're like a first cousin in my head, and I just want to thank you for your continued support and your warm advice. Thank you so much. So if you have not been on her channel, you need to check out Lady Nika, N-Y-C-A. She's a cool lady. So so that made me think about some more things that I wanted to talk about in love and marriage and relationships. It doesn't have to be marriage, but any long-term committed relationship, this would apply as well. So it's not going to be a long video, I don't think. And my next point, I think, it's an umbrella, and that is to not be afraid to ask the big questions. Don't be afraid on finding out the answers to the big questions, because they are going to rear their ugly head. And if you have no idea how your partner thinks, you're going to have a lot of problems. So let's talk about those big questions. Now, I will say this. I am a huge proponent of premarital counseling, and I think as a young person, you definitely need to get it. I did not get it as a young married couple, but I know I would have benefited. My only saving grace is that I was not afraid to ask the big questions. One of the great things for my own journey is that my husband was first my friend. So we had a very long-term platonic relationship. So, you know, when you are friends with someone, you're not guarded. I mean, you're seeing that person how they are. So I was very aware of his temperament. I was aware of how he handled situations. I was aware of the type of personality he had. I was aware of his core values. So when you're dealing with someone on a friendship level and there's no, you know, romance or sex involved, you're getting the real person. You understand, you know, what you're looking at. Dating is a little bit different. Dating, you're first getting their representative, and if you are paying attention, then you find out who that real person is. So for me, a lot of my questions were already answered because we were friends. And when you're friends, you have those kind of candid conversations. So I kind of skipped the premarital portion because I knew him as a person just on a friendship level. So, you know, there wasn't much to hide. But I will say that when we did come together dating, I asked the big questions because I had my own ideas and ideals about things, and I wanted to know where he stood, because I really felt, looking at other young couples getting married and getting divorced, that they didn't ask the right questions. So one, don't be afraid to ask the big questions, and don't be afraid to walk away when you find out the big answers, because they can be deal breakers. So let's talk about those big questions. One is money. How do you handle money? How does the other person handle money? Are you a spender? Are you a saver? What about your partner? Are they spenders or savers? How do they deal with money? What is their ideology about money? That's a big question. How did their family handle money? How did your family handle money? Because we both, you and the other person, come into the relationship with perceptions of money and your behaviors of money. And money is usually the big marriage killer, and a big relationship killer. So money is an issue. Money is an issue. Do not think that it's not an issue or it'll handle itself. It doesn't. It doesn't. If you are sneaky with money, that becomes an issue. If you don't think you should tell your partner about how much money you're spending, or you feel like hiding something from your partner, that breeds a lot of resentment. So money issues, how are you going to deal with bills? Do you consult each other? Like in the beginning of our relationship, before we got married, we had separate bank accounts. And then I would say, it wasn't until the children came that we consolidated our accounts together. Like I really felt, well, okay, I guess, we're a family unit. We should combine our money together. But make no mistake, if I did not think my husband was responsible with money, I don't think I would have consolidated our money together. I think we would have had a separate account. But those are things that you have to ask. Don't make assumptions that just because you get married that you're going to commingle your money. I do know couples that do that. Don't think that because you're married that you're not going to commingle. So those are questions you should ask before you get married. And also, how are you going to spend money? In our relationship, big ticketed items, furniture, appliances, a vehicle, those are things that we always consult with. Something, small, say under $200, we don't normally talk to each other, but as a courtesy, we will mention that, I was thinking about buying this. What do you think? And, I may have had plans for money in our account. So we have open communication about it. So money is a huge thing. Family/friends. How do you deal with family and friends in your life? And as I said, in the last video, family and friends, you love them to death, but sometimes they can be very nosy and very intrusive. And you may have allowed that in your previous relationships. You may be really close to your sister and feel like you need to tell her everything because she's your best friend. But I would just say you need to discuss that with your partner of how you're going to handle family. You may confide in your mom or your dad. You may confide in a cousin. Your best friend since you were 5 years old knows everything about you. Well, now you have this other person in your life, and they may not feel that same way. So you have to come with a mutual understanding of how family and friends are going to be in your relationship, because that can be a killer. Another one is religion. Do you have a religion that you practice? Is someone more into their journey of their faith than you are? Those are questions. How are you going to raise your children if you decide to have children? Are you a person that you want the whole family to go to church? Maybe you have a partner that believes in God, or have some type of faith that they believe in, but they don't want to go to church or synagogue or a mosque or whatever place of worship. Is that going to be a problem for you? Do not assume that just because you get married that this person is going to change their mind. Don't do it. If your religion, if you have one, is important to you, you need to make sure that is going to be something you're okay with if you deal with someone who doesn't want to go to church. And vice versa. If you don't have a faith that you practice, you're going to have to be okay if you deal with someone who, wants to go to Bible study on Wednesday and church on Sunday and, a retreat during the summer. If that's something that bothers you or you just can't come to terms with, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to say that up front. And then the last one I want to talk about is children. Have the big question. In my young life, I did not want to have children, and I made it very clear. I did not. I dated people, and I told them that I did not want to have children. That was a huge issue. Huge issue. Do you want to have children? How do you feel about children? What are your ideas and ideals about raising children? You come into the relationship with your perceptions and background about what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a father. What are those roles? Do you fall into traditional gender roles? What about if someone wants to stay home and raise children? Is the other person going to be okay? You may have come from in a background where the mom always works and you're going to be a working mom, and maybe the husband doesn't want you to work. You need to have those conversations ahead of time. And then lastly, I think that you should have constant conversations about these big topics because they change. You know, how you feel about things in the beginning of your marriage may change, may change 5 years into your marriage. How you feel about raising children and how you feel about your religion changes. So I think you should have open communication about all of those big topics and be respectful of that person's opinion. But the best way to deal with these topics in your marriage is to have those conversations before you get married and before you enter into, say, living together, if that's what you choose to do. Those things are big questions and they need to be addressed. And if you're on the same page with those big topics, you'll minimize the chaos and the crisis. So that is my part 2 to love and marriage. So tomorrow we'll talk about kids. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I'll come up with something. Jumpstart January 2016. It's quiet because it's early in the morning, so no one's bothering me at work. So you have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care of yourself and each other. Bye.